Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for coming to Campus Update. This is our last update for 2024. As all of you know, it's been a really busy year for us. We've accomplished an incredible amount together. Our students have taken their final exams, almost all of them, and have already started their break. And on Friday of this week, we'll do an early release, and the university will be on break for about 16 days. So really great opportunity for people to depress and enjoy the holidays. I do want all of us to thank and recognize those who are here still. For instance, those who are in some of the research areas, taking care of our research assets, and of course our police officers and campus operations, as well as others who will be here, making sure the university continues to operate and keep all of the critical assets we have, especially around research infrastructure, in place and functioning properly so it's all here when we return. I also want to thank all of the staff members who managed to spend some time with us in the two sessions that we held. The provost, senior vice president, finance operations, and I met with staff. You know that we routinely meet with the students and our faculty, and we wanted to meet with our staff to hear from you directly. Summaries of those meetings will be going out in the beginning of the year, as well as some of the things that we are doing to address some of the changes that people were interested in having instituted. Slower period this time of year. We just had our update a few weeks ago, but since that time, another nearly $300,000 in grant funding came into the university. Congratulations to Emily, who is helping to lead and support the work that is being accomplished through those dollars. I also had a great opportunity to watch a video of a national presentation that took place for Dr. Magdi Awad. He is a really critical faculty member with us in the College of Pharmacy, and he was recognized by the ASHP Board of Directors Pharmacy Champion Award. This is a really big deal award at the national level. Pretty incredible to watch him receive that. The video Dr. Trump shared with us, I don't know if she's going to make that available to be shared in other venues, but really proud of Dr. Awad and the work that he has done. Today, we also had a wonderful opportunity to delay our executive management team meeting as the team came together in our brand new military collegiate Purple Star Lounge and recognized Hudson Rogers, who is now Second Lieutenant Hudson Rogers in the United States Army. Today, he signed his commission. He will serve as a physician once he graduates medical school and completes his residency. Really wonderful opportunity, great way to start our day and for him and his lovely family. So thank you to now Second Lieutenant Rogers. I also want to recognize Anna Schmolik. For those of you who don't know her, she is an M3, but she's also one of our legacy students, meaning her parents both went to NEOMED and are physicians. Her father, until recently, was the chief of staff out at the Cleveland VA Medical Center. But surpassing family members is all about what our students do. And so Anna was recognized nationally through a paper she wrote. It's available on Pulse, but this is not our Pulse. This is a national narrative in medicine called Pulse Voices, and it was an opportunity for her to share some of her writing and how she was impacted over the course of her childhood and how it's changed her approach to delivering care for her patients. This is a big time of year for research, not just finishing final exams for our students. And this has been an especially impactful time since November, when we had 156 students present their research work that they accomplished at the university during our big research presentation day. But the Ohio chapter of the American College of Physicians also had its scientific conference meeting, and this university had incredible representation. In fact, a third-year student, Maham Avi, and an M2 who worked with her Clarence Minaj, published and then presented an abstract at the meeting. Not to be outdone, Catherine Domingo, a fourth year, also presented her work. And Omar Ashraf, who was actually a student trustee for the university, also was presenting, but he received first place for clinical research at the meeting. And then Brandon Petrovich, one of our M3s, won first place for his basic science research work. So NEOMED swept it for both clinical research and basic science research at a very competitive Congress that is representing all of the colleges of medicine and all of the physicians who belong to the American College of Physicians in the state of Ohio. Our faculty also have been involved in presenting. Many of you know Dr. Michael Sevilla and Austin Fredrickson. The two of them also presented work at this meeting. And our very own Paul Lacaw and Robert Fulton also had an opportunity to present at the meeting. And then finally, Dr. Joseph Myers was recognized with a mastership in the ACP. So great representation at the state level for a national organization for the College of Medicine right here in Ohio. This is our last Vitals of the year that will take place in upcoming, actually, my apologies, first Vitals of next year on January 9th, and it'll be one of our alumni, Dr. Teresa Michelle. Dr. Michelle is a graduate of the College of Medicine's class of 1991. She is the director of the Office of Non-Prescription Medications for the US FDA. That is a very senior position after first spending time with Big Pharma. So really looking forward to her talk. I hope all of you are able to join. This is a virtual talk. It will be done on Zoom, so you can do this right from the comfort of your desk or from home. Cleveland Cavaliers continue to represent Cleveland very well, and we will be holding NEOMED night with the Cavs. That will be January 5th at 6 p.m. You can go to the QR code or to our website if you'd like to be part of the community event with NEOMED. It's a time to be able to come together with your colleagues, students, faculty, and staff, and watch the Cleveland Cavaliers hopefully persevere through another game. And I do want to encourage all of you to attend an annual event that our students put on each year. The students come together, they pick a theme, they hold a ball right here on the campus up in our conference services area, and they do it to raise scholarships for other students who will follow in their steps. This year's theme is A Night Under the Sea. It'll be February 1st from 7 to 11 p.m. Dressing to the theme is highly encouraged. I've been doing my best to attend every year to support our students, and that I hope many of you will do the same. Certainly representation from all of the colleges and the provost office will be really important to our students. So if you can, please attend. The tickets are available online. And all of you know that we are going through our strategic plan refresh. We just had our board meeting with our board of trustees where we gave them the timeline because the board endorses the plan. So the plan that we are currently in, which was phase 1, or the first version of our Creating Transformational Leaders strategic plan, is about 4 years and 4 months into the process of what is really intended to be a 5-year plan. But it doesn't really come to an end. It's guided us. It served as our roadmap. It's really helped base new programming. It determines where we place our funding at the university so that we're successful in finding our way to where we want to be. And we are now going through that process again to refresh our plan because it's a great plan, but we've learned a lot from it. There have been some changes in the landscape, and we will be making some modifications, and we want your input in how we get there because you are who make up this university, our faculty and our staff. Long term, we also get input from our students, our community members, our alumni to help make sure the university is fulfilling the role it's intended to fill for the state of Ohio and within the region. We've done surveys, but at this point, we're ready to move on into working groups so we can learn from you individually and in person. And so they're going to do what they're referring as a World Cafe session. There will be tables set up that you can migrate from one to the other with themes so that you can continue to give input as we move forward. As we shared with our Board of Trustees, we will have a finalized, refreshed strategic plan for their review and endorsement at the March board meeting. So the strategy team is working really aggressively to get this done. They've done a great deal of work already. Big thank you to our consultants from Tomorrow's People who helped us get this far, and they also helped us with our first plan. So these will be up and available on the board, so you can QR code into these. I think most of us are savvy in this now. If you're not, and you have a smartphone, you simply take a picture, it'll bring the link up and you can hit it and you can sign up. If you don't have a smartphone, well, you're probably still in the 1990s, but we can help you through that. If you want to come meet up at the strategy office, we'll make sure you get connected. We're doing the same thing for our students also. There's also a web page that's going to go live. The strategy office has got that created, and you'll be able to get more information about the process and how you can participate through that program. As you know, winter break is coming up. We'll be doing an early release on Friday. Some of you may be taking additional days beforehand. Really, on behalf of the faculty, the students, the staff, our Board of Trustees, we hope you have a wonderful holiday season, regardless of what it is you choose to practice and to celebrate. This is a really important time to, as I said, depress, recollect yourselves, figure out what you're going to do in the new year, and spend time with friends and family. I hope all of you have a very safe and wonderful holiday and new year. I wanted to say that before we move into the next phase of the presentation today. I think all of you know that one of our biggest supporters is the state of Ohio. And they do that both through physical support, but also through financial support. And that process takes place every 2 years for the operating budget, where they determine something called state share of instruction. State share of instruction are the dollars they give the university to offset the cost of teaching, specifically teaching for our students, and hopefully using those dollars to be able to offset tuition costs. Those numbers are very complicated. There's a complicated formula that's used for those. But every 2 years, we work together to lobby ourselves, our state, our benefactors, to increase or to help us meet the needs of what it is we're doing. And it's a fairly complicated process. And many of you have more say in this than you might think, because the legislators who make these determinations, the governor, those who are sitting in the House and in the Senate, are put there by you. So if you feel they're not meeting your needs, phone calls, letters, emails from you actually can help make a big difference. John Stilliana and our government relations team do this. They go down to Columbus. They spend a great deal of time meeting with legislative leaders. I do the same thing with them. And then we see where we're at. And generally, everything will be decided by late June and implemented into July, as we have a biennial budget that starts July 1st. Off cycle, from the operating budget, they do a capital budget. And that is dollars that can only be used for infrastructure. So, for instance, replacing our chillers or replacing our roofing. They can't be used for operating dollars. But it's a complicated process. I thought all of you would benefit from hearing about it, because it does supply about 1/3 of all the revenue, all the dollars at the university that we use to run this organization. And so without further ado, I'll introduce John Stilliana, our Vice President for Government Relations. John?
Great, thank you very much. I'll just go over kind of just the process of what Perry and I do in the Government Affairs Office. Obviously, as President Langell said, the state is what I would call our biggest donor, so I'll channel my inner Sophie if she's here. Okay, so The state is our biggest donor, right? They give us, as President said, about a third of our budget every other year, and it's not guaranteed. And we need to show them why that investment is worth their investment. So it is a long process. It's kind of like a campaign as far as I'm concerned. And it goes, I consider it a roller coaster ride, right? You know, you have your ups and then you have your downs, your peaks, valleys. But I will kind of go over that and be happy to answer your questions. So, state budget, the groundwork for this upcoming biennial budget has already started. That happened in September. The governor's office is starting to put together their budgets for the next 2 years, and then each department will turn their budget into the governor's office, and then they'll take a look at it and decide where they're at with their revenue and what's realistic, what can happen. But it's important to have those conversations with the administration starting as early as this past September. So from September to now, we've been having conversations with the Department of Higher Education, so the chancellor, for lack of a better term. Department of Higher Ed is our regulatory agency, so we need to kind of keep them abreast of what our goals are for this upcoming budget, both fiscally and regulatory wise. So we've had those conversations with Department of Higher Ed. They are essentially our advocate directly to the governor's office and explaining to the governor why it's so important to invest in higher ed or why it's so important to invest in some of the programs that NEOMED has. So that process is from now, and then in mid-February, the governor will release his budget. It's the as introduced budget that the governor will release. So we'll get a good idea of what the state share of instruction is going to be. We'll get an idea of any kind of individual goals that NEOMED is asking for. If that's in the governor's budget, that is a very good thing. You always want to try to get into the governor's budget because after that, you're playing, for lack of a better term, defense, right? You're trying to keep your ask or your requests in that as introduced version of the governor's budget. So that comes out about mid-February. Mid-February to, or late February to about mid-April. Sometimes it can go into a little bit into late April. There's no concrete timeline on this, but the House will get it. The State House will get it. And then that's when we start meeting with House members, your state representatives. So our state representative coming into the next GA, ours being NEOMED's, is State Representative Heidi Workman. She is a Republican. So, you know, Heidi will be probably our biggest legislative champion for the House part of the budget. Now, besides just meeting with Heidi, because we don't just meet with Heidi and say, hey, Heidi, can you do this for us? Have a great day. We go and meet with other representatives, right, from the Finance Committee, and that committee determines or has a huge impact on how the budget's going to be determined in the House. So we're meeting with members of the Finance Committee. We're obviously meeting with members of the Higher Education Committee, Higher Education Sub-Finance Committee, which makes recommendations to the Finance Committee, and then our Northeast Ohio delegation. We want to meet with them so they can help us advocate to members of the Finance Committee to help us out with what we're looking to do in the budget. So that goes all the way till April. Then the Finance Committee will submit the House will then submit their budget. Hopefully we're still in it, or hopefully we get in it for whatever we did not get in the governor's budget. And then it will go to, I should back up a little bit too, with the House, we also meet with House leadership. So you're the Speaker of the House and then also the Minority Leader of the House. So you have all those meetings with House members and you hope to get what you're looking for into the budget. After that, it will get passed out of the House and it will go to the Senate. So then the Senate will get a crack at the budget. And again, let's say we're looking for certain funding and we didn't get it into the governor's as introduced budget. And we advocated it for the House, but for whatever reason, it did not get in to the House budget. We still have a chance to get into the Senate budget, Senate version of the budget. So that goes in probably around early May, and that'll go till usually about mid-June. And it's the same thing, right? Who's our state senator for NEOMED this upcoming GA? It's going to be State Senator Christina Rogner, and she also is a Republican. But again, it's not, hey, Senator Rogner, here's what we're looking to do, and have a nice day, get that done for us. We're meeting with leadership in the Senate, so the Senate President, Senate Minority Leader, and then we're meeting with Senate staff to the policy aides and explaining what our goals are. And then we're meeting with Senate Finance Committee. Again, it's the same as the House, where their members have a huge impact on how the budget's going to be made. We're meeting with the Higher Education Senate Committee and just, again, our Northeast Ohio delegation to help us advocate for what we're looking to do. And then come mid-June, the Senate will pass their version of the bill, of the budget bill, and then it will go to conference committee. So conference committee is made up of 6 members total, 2 from the House that are from the majority party, 1 from the minority party, 2 from the Senate, I'm sorry, 3 from the Senate, 2 with the majority party, 1 from the minority party. And what the conference committee does is they iron out every single difference between the House passed version of the budget and the Senate passed version of the budget. So this is literally, hundreds, if not, it could go into the thousands of differences that the House and the Senate have. So let's say NEOMED is asking for dental school funding, and the House gave us $1 million, and the Senate gave us $2 million in their budget. They have to work out that difference. So are we going to get 1 million? Are we going to get 2 million? And by the way, at conference committee, they can decide NEOMED's not going to get anything and take it completely out. So it's and that's for any kind of budget difference. It doesn't necessarily have to be for higher ed. This is in anything that's there. So that's what the conference committee does. And that usually they meet around mid-June, and they'll meet for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And by law, the budget has to be done by June 30th for the governor to sign. So that is the final hurdle, if you will. The conference committee irons out every single difference that they have between the House and Senate budgets. Then the budget bill will go to the governor for him to sign. Now, the governor, there is one more hurdle. The governor can do line item vetoes, so he has the power to take out any line item within the budget and veto it. And so a lot of times, at least with higher ed, we tend to stay out of that. That tends to be with more controversial issues that perhaps the House and the Senate or the governor have different views on. So, but that is the final part of it. And then June 30th, he has to sign the budget. Now, there have been occasions where they've extended the previous biennial budget for several weeks because they are still working on the budget. It's very, very rare that that happens, but it can happen from time to time. And then that is it. Once the governor signs it, our budget is done. And that basically what I just gave you is just a little bit of what Perry and I do down in Columbus. So I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Any questions? Just to give you an example of how this played out last time, John and his team did a great deal of work The governor's office did not put in the $4 million allocation that we asked for starting up a College of Dentistry. However, the House and the Senate supported it. The numbers varied a little bit, but ultimately in conference committee it went through. The Senate also put in a request, remember that's step 3, the Senate put in a request to get a brand new bill in called for the professional development of a new profession, the certified mental health assistant for NEOMED, as well as $4 million in funding to get that going. So in stage 3, it made the Senate, but somewhere in conference committee, which is secret, right? They just sit in a closed session and do this. That got removed. So it's a very complicated process. Ultimately, NEOMED did pretty well with that. And this year we'll be working aggressively to get support for the university too. So with that, this is the end of the presentation, and now we're into question and answer session. Does anybody have any questions for me that I can address? Looks like we have one online. Obviously, you're concentrating on the budget now, but it would be great to hear an update about other activities such as workaround care for transgender children. NEOMED doesn't do anything in transgender child care. That is being done, I believe, at Akron Children's Hospital, and we don't have any control or direction over that program. So I don't have a way of addressing that. It's not our mission is education and research, and it's not an area that I'm aware of that we're doing research in. Any other questions? Well, looks like we have a couple more online. Can we be updated as things move through the budget? Absolutely. I will give you updates during our update process as we find out where things are going. One update I can give you now, and I think I've shared this before, is we just had a meeting with the Chancellor of Higher Education with the IUC, and they informed us the governor's budget will be, quote, austere. That's legislative speak for money will be tight. And we've been told that the governor's as introduced dollars for SSI, State Share of Instruction, that we're going to get a 1% decrease. If that happens, we're going to work really hard with our legislators to try and get that bumped up. But for now, we're being told that we're going to start with a reduction. Whereas last time we went through this, the governor actually asked for a 3% and 3% year-over-year increase, and the House and the Senate brought that down to a 1% and a 1% increase. So it's a complicated process. The presentation was helpful. John, can you make those slides available? Yes, we absolutely will. And can you tell us about renovations around campus? So while we're on break, now that our students are on break, the area in the library that's often the quiet study area is going to get completely torn apart. Many of you may know that that spot used to have some fairly musty smell to it. It's not used a lot by our students. It's just not the type of study space that they want. So we are gutting that whole area out and then extending it beyond the library. So there will be, I don't know, I think there's somewhere around 32 private study rooms that can accommodate between 2 and 6 students, frosted glass, really modernized, new lighting, new carpet. And on top of it, we'll be extending over and creating a new space for the Center for Teaching Excellence that the Provost Office is building out as a resource to our faculty. The work in the College of Dentistry with the new operatories for delivering dental care, as well as the simulation center, is on time right now. Not quite on budget, but close. The provost is keeping them on target. And we'll have a grand opening for that in July during the white coat ceremony with the students. So all that work is moving forward. I also met with Dale and Mary Taylor. We do walkarounds on campus, and we find areas that need work. We've asked the Vice President for Research to work with some of the faculty members who are in the older corridors about cleaning up so we can help them and get new cabinetry in, lighten up the hallways, get in some new lighting. And we're also taking the the mini break areas. They're like kitchenettes. There's 4 of them in the research areas. They look like they may have been from the 1970s. They're pretty old. And the attached conference rooms, we're going to come in and completely revamp those also. And we will stage it so that they're not all done at once. But it's just it's an opportunity to be able to address the needs of the research area and where some of our faculties are. So we'll be doing that. And we're collecting areas for further improvement. We've been marching our way across campus, starting in the South Corridor, coming all the way forward. Now we're going up to the 2nd floor. We'll be doing in the area by the Vice President for Research, into the Quiet Studies place in the library. And then everything on the other side of the MDLs downstairs will be getting redone with the new refit for the dental college. So there's a lot taking place from a campus improvement standpoint. I think you can see that there's lots of areas that have already been redone, and I think they look amazing. If you're aware of some areas that are in need of repair, for instance, I do know the area by Nate, the walking whale. We're going to be fixing that area up too. There's some areas where water has damaged it. The F building is getting the doors that are upside down repaired. Those were done when it was constructed. We've learned which construction agencies to use and which not to use. And we'll be looking at further campus expansion. I think most of you know that we did buy the piece of land that is between the village and goes all the way up to the edge of Cracker Barrel. That building, not the one with the water that sells water, the one behind it does belong to the university now also. The tenants will be vacating by January 1st, and we're going to be making plans for that whole area, including walking trails and space for people to use as a bit of a nature hike and depressed space also. We're also looking at opportunities for a retail space to be able to bring in food and beverages that are delivered commercially to anybody who's interested in doing that. So we have more resources on this campus. I'd like to know more about research and publications and presentation from Akron Children's colleagues who are NEOMED faculty. Well, we do our best to share all the presentations by anybody who carries a NEOMED faculty appointment. It's part of the way that we recognize the work that's being done as an extension of the university. And I know Dr. Michael Forbes out at Akron Children's Hospital is working very closely with our colleges and our provost office, and we're doing more with them together, including, as many of you heard, Dr. Rancis, who is here with us doing incredible research, well-funded by the National Institutes of Health, and really a rising superstar in research and in academia. They also have Dr. Hope Ball. Many of you know her from her time in Dr. Safadi's lab. She is now an independent investigator with Akron Children's who is on our campus. And I just met with a burn surgeon that Akron Children's have hired who is also looking to be able to get space out here with NEOMED. So these are collaborative projects. We will publish and work together. They'll work with our students. And we shine together by highlighting each other. Will there be more surveys coming our way so we can give more feedback about what was talked about in the town halls? And will we have employee satisfaction survey? So the surveys we're doing right now are the ones around the strategic plan. Survey fatigue is a real thing. People get so many of them, they want to stop responding. I've also been asked by faculty, why did they go away so quickly? We put them out for 4 weeks and at some point needed to collect the information. So now we're moving on to these working groups. We're going to give you the opportunity to meet with us in person should you choose to do so. Later, we'll do additional surveys when we're not crunching you with so many surveys all at one time because it becomes an overload. Just like our students, we're asking them for their input in the strategic plan, but at the same time, I know Dr. Basson is going to be sending out a big survey for LCME, which our students need to be able to respond to. And if you get too many of these, then sometimes they don't prioritize the ones that we really need them to respond to. So the answer is yes, but we're going to sequence it over time so it's not too much of a burden to you. And then finally, any additional housing plans at the village, it continues to run at capacity prior to increasing class sizes. and the new dental college? The answer to that also is yes. There is a slot that's already built out for a new tower in the village, but it would be a bad business move from the university to build it before we can fill it, because if we do, we got to put resources into it that are maybe currently being allocated to other things at the university. So probably around the second year the College of Dentistry is up, we will have been underway with it. Mary Taylor has been looking at it. Right now, we're watching as interest rates are starting to drop. The higher the interest rate, the more money the university has to pay in debt. And just like your mortgages, if you get a mortgage at 7%, then you're spending a huge amount of money giving bank free dollars instead of just paying for your assets. So those are coming down, and we're hoping, maybe almost expecting, we'll see, fingers crossed, that once again the university will get a bond upgrade this year. And if we do, that makes the cost of borrowing money drop even more, so we can find the right time to get new bonds and then to fund the development, because we do know that we need to do it, and we will be doing it within the next couple of years. And then it looks like there's one more, then I'm going to cut it off after this. Given June state budget deadlines, what is the plan to operationalize without compromising our curriculum? Budget deadlines without, fortunately, I'm not sure how to answer that question, because budget deadlines and operationalizing our curriculum really, although tied to resources, we're doing a great job operationalizing our curriculum. The College of Pharmacy has been really doing a phenomenal job. The College of Graduate Studies students are doing really well, and they're very happy. And the College of Medicine outcomes have skyrocketed. I know Dr. Basson has done an amazing job with that. Our USMLE Step 1 and Step 2 rates are above national averages. The progression rate has gone way up, and we're attracting really talented students. That 1% cut to the budget, if it really comes to reality, will translate for NEOMED into about $200,000. Fortunately, we've been running a really lean and operational excellent organization, so it shouldn't have tremendous impact on the university. We will have to look at it in the context of what we can do for compensation in the future if that were to come through, but it still shouldn't have dramatic impact, actually. I mean, that's $200,000 is not enough money for our staff even bump compensation up by 0.5%, or maybe about 0.5%, but we're doing fine financially. We're never allowed to do amazing financially. We're a public institution, and if we were sitting on the kind of dollars that Cleveland Clinic or Apple are sitting on, our legislators would come in and say, why are we giving you money? Why isn't tuition free? As a nonprofit, we have a balancing act. So we're in a good, safe space right now. And I know it's hard. Higher education right now is not in a good space, at least in Ohio. We got a report from our bonding agency that says they believe higher education is stable, which was a surprise. We thought it was going to be listed as a negative outlook. But we do know, if you watch the news, that there's some hard times for most of our local universities, both state and private. Many of them continuing to downsize, restructure, eliminating positions, eliminating programs. We are not there. We're in a good spot right now. So I'll leave you with that. And once again, wish all of you a very happy holidays, and thank you for coming.